say to the honourable gentleman, give me this, I will not tolerate such behaviour. If you want to go out now, but if you stand again, I'll lord you out. Make your mind up. Either shut up and get out.
The Supreme Court has just delivered a stunning and unprecedented judgment that has sent shockwaves through Westminster and beyond. Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, has been officially ordered to resign after a corruption scandal worth £124,000 was exposed live on national television. What was once whispered in private corners of Parliament is now laid bare for the entire nation to see. The allegations, the evidence, and the ruling are not just another political story. They are a national crisis. This is the collapse of trust, the dismantling of reputations, and the kind of moment in history that will be remembered for decades. How did it come to this? How did one of Britain's most powerful figures fall so fast? And what will this shocking decision mean for the Labour Party, for Parliament, and for the people of the United Kingdom? The story begins with what seemed like a minor inquiry, a quiet investigation into unusual financial dealings connected to Starmer's inner circle. At first, the details appeared insignificant, the kind of political noise that often fades away, but then the threads began to unravel. Investigators uncovered hidden payments, secret accounts, and a series of irregular transactions that pointed directly towards the heart of Labour's leadership. What started as a flicker soon ignited into a firestorm, and it became impossible to contain. The scandal quickly gathered momentum, drawing in journalists, legal experts, and the public, all hungry for the truth. It was no longer a question of if something was wrong, it became a question of how deep the rot went. The number, £124,000, might sound small compared to the grand scandals of history, but it carries with it the weight of betrayal. This was not just money, it was influence, power, and manipulation. These funds, allegedly funneled through shadowy channels, were said to secure loyalty within the party and tilt key decisions in Starmer's favour. The revelations ripped away the polished image he had built, exposing a different story, one of backroom deals and hidden agendas. For years, Starmer had presented himself as the face of integrity, the man who would clean up politics. But now, with each piece of evidence revealed, that image was torn apart, replaced with the image of yet another politician caught in a web of greed and corruption. The turning point came when the case moved beyond whispers and speculation and entered the hallowed halls of the Supreme Court. This was no longer politics as usual. The highest judges in the land examined the evidence. Emails, bank records, witness testimonies that painted a picture too clear to deny. As the hearings unfolded live on television, the nation watched in disbelief. The courtroom fell silent as damning documents were read aloud. The kind of silence that chills the air and reminds you that history is being written in real time. Every word spoken by the judges echoed far beyond the courtroom walls, striking at the very foundation of British politics. And then the ruling. Clear, direct, unforgiving. The Supreme Court ordered Keir Starmer to resign. Their judgment was not just a legal statement, it was a moral one. It said that no one, not even the leader of the opposition, is above the law. It said that the public's trust is sacred, and when that trust is broken, consequences must follow. The announcement shattered Westminster like glass. Political allies scrambled to distance themselves, whispering in private corridors, plotting their own survival. Opponents seized the moment, their calls for elections growing louder by the hour. But the greatest reaction came from the people. Across the country, citizens who had already grown weary of broken promises and political games erupted in anger. Protests began to form outside Parliament. On social media, millions voiced their outrage, some demanding Starmer's immediate removal, others calling for deeper reforms to cleanse the political system once and for all. This was not just about one man, it was about a culture of secrecy and corruption that had finally been dragged into the light. The Labour Party now stands on the edge of collapse. With its leader disgraced and ordered to step down, the internal divisions have exploded into open warfare. Factions are fighting for control, each one claiming to represent the future of the party. But the truth is, Labour's future has never been more uncertain. Can it survive this scandal? Can it recover the trust of voters who feel betrayed? Or is this the moment that marks the beginning of its decline? For Keir Starmer, the fall is absolute. Once seen as a figure who could challenge the government, he now finds his name etched into history for all the wrong reasons. His career, his reputation, his legacy all hang by a thread. The £124,000 scandal is no longer just a headline, it is the symbol of a broken promise, the mark of a leader undone by his own actions. And as the dust begins to settle, one truth stands above all. British politics will never be the same again. The fallout from the Supreme Court's ruling has been nothing short of catastrophic. The order for Keir Starmer to resign did not just remove a political leader, it tore open the heart of a party already struggling to hold itself together. Inside Labour, chaos reigns. Senior figures who once stood firmly behind Starmer are now abandoning him, desperate to distance themselves from the corruption scandal before it consumes them as well. Meetings behind closed doors have turned into shouting matches. Factions openly accuse one another of complicity, and whispers of betrayal echo through the corridors of Westminster. The party that promised unity is now divided like never before. Some argue that Labour must immediately purge itself of anyone linked to Starmer's leadership, while others cling to the hope of salvaging his reputation. But the ruling has left no room for compromise. Starmer has been branded not only as a failed leader, but as the symbol of everything the public despises about modern politics. On the streets, the anger is even louder. Crowds have gathered outside Parliament, their chants demanding accountability shaking the air. Placards read, "No one is above the law," and "Clean politics now." For many, this scandal is not just about Starmer. It is about a broken system that allowed corruption to fester in the shadows. Protesters demand sweeping reforms, from stricter rules on campaign funding to independent oversight of party finances. Ordinary citizens who for years felt ignored by politicians now see this moment as a turning point. Social media has erupted into a storm of outrage, with hashtags calling for Starmer's resignation trending globally. Every post, every comment, every share amplifies the fury, spreading it from the streets of London to every corner of the United Kingdom. The public's patience has run out, and their voices are louder than ever before. The media has seized upon the scandal with relentless energy. Headlines blare words like collapse, corruption, and betrayal. Investigative journalists dig deeper into the story, uncovering fresh details that paint an even darker picture of Labour's inner workings. Reports claim that the £124,000 scandal was only the tip of the iceberg, with whispers of even larger sums and more complex networks of influence still hidden from view. Television debates dominate the airwaves, with politicians, experts and commentators locked in heated arguments about the future of the Labour Party and the state of British democracy. Every revelation adds fuel to the fire, and every analysis reminds the public that this is more than just a personal downfall. It is a crisis of governance at the highest level. Meanwhile, opposition parties smell blood. The Conservatives have wasted no time framing Labour as corrupt and unfit to govern. Ministers appear on television solemnly declaring that the public deserves a government they can trust, not one riddled with scandal. Calls for a snap election grow louder each day, with the Tories hoping to strike while Labour is weakest. Smaller parties too are capitalising on the chaos. The Liberal Democrats, the Greens and independent MPs are positioning themselves as the moral alternatives, demanding electoral reform and stricter accountability measures. For them, this is an opportunity not only to attack Labour, but to reshape the political landscape itself. What once seemed like a two-party battle now looks increasingly unstable, with the balance of power threatening to shift in unpredictable ways. Inside Labour, the leadership vacuum is deepening. Potential successors are already manoeuvring for control, each presenting themselves as the saviour who can rebuild the party. Names are whispered in the halls, promises made in secret meetings, alliances forged and broken in a matter of hours. But the challenge is immense. Whoever steps forward must confront not only the wreckage of Starmer's downfall, but also the fury of a public that feels betrayed. Trust is gone, faith is broken, and no speech, however powerful, will erase the memory of this scandal. The next leader will inherit not a movement of hope, but a party drowning in suspicion, division, and fear. And yet, amid all this chaos, one question looms larger than all the others. What will Keir Starmer do now? Some insiders claim he is preparing to fight back, to appeal the Supreme Court's decision and reclaim his place. Others insist he is preparing to step aside quietly, hoping to salvage what remains of his dignity. But the damage is done. Even if he fights, even if he denies every allegation, the court of public opinion has already delivered its verdict. To the people, Starmer is guilty. Guilty of betrayal, guilty of corruption, guilty of shattering their fragile trust in politics. His career, once built on promises of reform and integrity, now lies in ruins. The ashes of a reputation burned away by scandal. The crisis has reached a point where even international voices are beginning to weigh in. Observers from abroad watch with disbelief as one of Britain's most prominent political figures crumbles under the weight of corruption charges. Editorials from foreign newspapers describe the scandal as a warning to all democracies. When trust is broken, when leaders put ambition above accountability, the system itself begins to crack. Allies express concern about stability in the UK, while rivals quietly celebrate the turmoil. Britain, long seen as a model of parliamentary democracy, now finds itself under a harsh global spotlight, its credibility shaken, its politics exposed as fragile and fractured. The story is far from over. Each day brings new revelations, new accusations, and new battles within Labour. The £124,000 scandal has become more than just a headline. It is a mirror reflecting the deep flaws of a system that has lost touch with the people it was meant to serve. And as protests grow louder, as political rivals sharpen their knives, and as the nation demands justice, one thing is certain: the road ahead will be brutal. The downfall of Keir Starmer is not the end of this crisis. It is only the beginning of a political earthquake that threatens to reshape Britain of itself. The moment the King's announcement echoed across the nation, Westminster was thrown into absolute chaos. MPs sat in stunned silence, unsure if they had just witnessed the beginning of a new political era or the complete collapse of the old order. Nigel Farage, standing firm, did not smile. He did not boast. He simply let the weight of history settle on his shoulders. The message was clear. Britain's future no longer belonged to the traditional parties who had ruled for decades. It now rested in the hands of a man who had once been dismissed as a rebel, an outsider, a troublemaker. And yet the people cheered louder than ever before. Keir Starmer, on the other hand, erupted with fury. Those closest to him described his reaction as volcanic. Papers slammed on the table, his voice raised to the point of trembling. He demanded answers. How could this happen? Why wasn't he warned? But the truth was simple. He had underestimated both the King's resolve and the people's cry for change. Outside Parliament, crowds surged, waving flags and chanting Farage's name, while furious protesters shouted, "Starmer betrayed us!" The line had been drawn and there was no going back. Insiders revealed that Labour MPs began to panic. Some whispered of breaking ranks, of abandoning Starmer before the storm consumed them too. The once unshakable Labour majority now looked fragile, like glass ready to shatter under pressure. Meanwhile, Farage addressed the nation with words that cut deep. This is not about me. This is about restoring power to the people and ending the rule of elites who ignored your voice for too long. His speech sent shockwaves across Europe, where leaders scrambled to respond, fearing that Britain's defiance might inspire others to rise against their own governments. The UK had entered uncharted waters. For the first time in modern history, the King had defied the political establishment so openly, and in doing so, he placed the fate of Britain's democracy into the hands of a man the elite had sworn would never rise to power. But now Nigel Farage was not just a politician, he was a symbol, a rallying cry, and perhaps the most dangerous threat the old order had ever faced. The situation in London is now at boiling point. What happened today has sent shockwaves through the political system, and there seems to be no turning back. Keir Starmer, once seen as a steady and careful leader, is now caught in a storm unlike anything Britain has witnessed in decades. The anger is not just about one decision, not just about Nigel Farage being placed in a position of power. It is about years of frustration, betrayal, and the widening gap between the political elite and ordinary people. The British public has reached a breaking point, and Starmer's eruption today is proof that even he knows the walls around him are collapsing. Reports from inside Westminster paint a chilling picture. Witnesses say Starmer slammed his fist on the table, shouting that the monarchy had no right to interfere in politics in such a direct way. His voice echoed through the corridors, his face red with fury, and his closest allies were left stunned into silence. For years, Starmer built his career on control, calm speeches, and careful calculations. But today, that mask cracked wide open. He was no longer the cool lawyer turned politician. He was a man cornered, fighting for survival and lashing out in desperation. The eruption was not just about politics, it was personal. King Charles's decision to hand power to Nigel Farage is now being described as one of the boldest and most dangerous moves a monarch has made in modern times. Some call it a necessary act of leadership in a time when Parliament is paralysed. Others are calling it reckless, even unconstitutional. But no matter where you stand, one thing is clear. Britain has been thrown into a historic showdown between Crown and Parliament. Nigel Farage, a man once seen as an outsider, a rebel, a political agitator, is suddenly holding influence at the highest level. And for Starmer, that is nothing less than a nightmare come true. Behind the scenes, Labour MPs are panicking. Some whisper that Starmer has lost control. Others demand that he hold the line and fight back. But how do you fight when the king himself has stepped into the arena? Whispers of resignation, rebellion, and even the possibility of a snap election are already spreading like wildfire. In every corridor of Westminster, in every pub across the nation, people are asking the same burning question: is this the end of Keir Starmer? Meanwhile, Farage is not backing down. In fact, he is doubling down. Publicly, he has declared that the King's trust is a mandate to reshape Britain and restore power to the people. His words are igniting cheers in the streets, but also sparking fear among the political class. Crowds have gathered outside Parliament, waving flags, chanting his name and demanding immediate reforms. It feels less like ordinary politics and more like a revolution brewing in real time. Starmer's eruption today is only the beginning. The more he lashes out, the more he risks losing the last shreds of authority he has left. Some within his own party are already preparing for the worst. A senior Labour insider revealed that shadow ministers are holding late-night calls, weighing whether to stand by him or cut him loose before it's too late. The betrayal is brewing, not just from outside, but from within his own ranks. This crisis is bigger than one man. It is about the soul of Britain, the future of its democracy, and the fragile balance between tradition and modern politics. For years, the monarchy stayed quietly in the background, a symbol but not a force. But now the king has stepped into the fire and the entire nation is burning with questions. Has Charles saved Britain from collapse? Or has he opened the door to chaos that no one can control? And in the middle of it all is Keir Starmer, furious, humiliated and desperate to hold on. Every move he makes from this point forward will decide not only his career but the destiny of the country. Will he rise against the Crown and Farage? Or will history remember him as the man who was broken in the moment Britain needed him most?